Hey, y'all, I want to invite you to the very first edition of my cocktail conspiracy hour that's not A, going to last an hour, and B, I want to let you know what cocktail we're having tonight. Tonight is just a plain old vodka tonic night. I think that's a perfectly fitting way to start our first cocktail conspiracy hour. You know, that's good stuff. And I'm over 21. I don't drink and drive, and I drink in moderation. I'm a school teacher, middle school. I love those kids, but I have to say, I like my little cocktail hour too. But I want to talk to you about Tecumseh's curse. It's a conspiracy. Do I believe it? Do I think people can curse people? Hey, I can curse. But I don't know if I can curse people, right? We all can do that. I taught this to my students the other day, and they're like, mind blown. So I was thinking, I bet y'all would like it too. It's really interesting. There is a Native American named Tecumseh that lived many, many years ago. And this is a theory about something he said that's turned into a conspiracy theory. And so I just love a good conspiracy, even though some of them are so far-fetched and there's probably no possible way that it could be true. I always think there's a little bitty bit of truth that comes from some of these things. So like I said, this isn't going to be an hour because y'all don't want to hear me talk for an hour. And, you know, I can't drink for, well, I can drink for an hour, but let's get this show on the road. What is this conspiracy about? What is Tecumseh's curse? Well, and y'all listen, my facts are kind of all over, so bear with me, but I'm going to give you what I like to call the gist. I'm all about a gist. Okay, I'm all about the nutshell version because some of the other stuff just makes you go way over here, and then you forget what you're talking about. So what is Tecumseh's curse? There is a man who becomes the president later. That's foreshadowing for my literature people. He becomes president later, and his name is William Henry Harrison. And he and Tecumseh were like Lex Luthor and Superman, or Batman and the Joker, or something like that. They were arch rivals, and they were each other's nemesis. If you don't know what nemesis is, Nemesis, look it up. It's a great term. But they were against each other all the time, and Tecumseh was ready to get rid of old William Henry Harrison just as much as Harrison wanted to get rid of old Tecumseh, okay? Because the dispute was over land. Hey, land equals money. Money equals power. Therefore, land equals power. All of these wars in the past fought over land. Okay, and I'm going to have a lesson about land equals power. But let's go on to this cocktail conspiracy hour here that's less than an hour. Tecumseh and his brother, okay, this is his half-brother. Well, they were very close. His half-brother was a medicine man and a prophet. Well, unfortunately for Tecumseh, he was mortally wounded at the Battle of the Thames, and it was a Harrison-type battle, and I say that because there's so many things going on around it. So like I said, this is the gist. Here's the gist. Tecumseh died, okay? Doesn't like Harrison. Harrison doesn't like Tecumseh, and supposedly on his deathbed, the brother came back and said, there's going to be a curse. There's going to be a curse. If something happens, and I'm going to tell you what the catalyst is. Catalyst means something that starts something, C-A-T-A-L-Y-S-T, catalyst. If this occurs, then this is going to happen. You have the jumping off point. Now, here's the curse. And it's also known as the rule of zero. Now, here's Tecumseh. Now, let me tell you something. This is not the curse word for word. Okay? It's not the curse word for word. Like I said, it's a gist. Let me tell it to you. Here we go. It goes something like this. Should the people of this country ever elect William Henry Harrison as the next great chief, he will die in office, and every 20 years thereafter, the great chief will also die in office or have their time shortened, not by my people. And the times will be marked with great strife and divisiveness and division in the country. Okay, so what's the catalyst, guys? Harrison has to be elected. Now, this is a curse that supposedly came out in 1813. Well, let's look at the next page. You see that it doesn't say the one who fell, right? The fallen. Okay, there's a big space right here. Look, on this side right here, space. That means there's a lot of names. Let's look at this. This is 1813. 27 years later, William Henry Harrison is elected president. Oh, 1840, 0 year. He gets up in the middle of a thunderstorm to do his inaugural address. Hour and a half, keeps on talking and talking, gets off the stage, goes back to the White House, dies 3 weeks later, pneumonia. But that's kind of, could that really be a curse? He kind of cursed himself, don't you think? Who stands out there an hour and a half in a blustery day, wind, lightning? Probably not a good choice for old Harrison, but let's look. 20 years later, we've heard of him. Abraham Lincoln, elected president 20 years later. Now, is the country marked with strife and divided? Yes, it is. It's the Civil War, y'all. Hey, guess what? If y'all don't know about that, stay tuned because we're going to be learning about it. But Abraham Lincoln is cut down by an assassin's bullet, John Wilkes Booth, in the Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. So, 20 years later, hey, but could that really be the curse? Because, a lot of people didn't like Abraham Lincoln because they were Southern sympathizers. John Wilkes Booth hated him, okay? So, I don't really think it's a curse, do you? Oh, let's add 20 years. James Garfield. Well, James Garfield was elected in 1880, and he is killed by an assassin, Charles Guiteau. Guess who was around when he was assassinated? Robert Todd Lincoln, Lincoln's son. How strange is that? Come on. Y'all, if there weren't for bad luck sometimes, there'd be no luck at all. All right, James Garfield. Well, let's move on. That's 20 years. So we've got 40. We got 60. We got 80. Oh, my goodness. William McKinley. President McKinley is at the Pan American Expedition in Buffalo, New York. This is when people from South America and Canada and North America, we all get together and share inventions. It's like that every 4 years, 5 years deal. I'm not sure. Remember, I'm a gist person. Well, he's in line shaking hands. Y'all, there weren't security folks everywhere all the time. He is shaking hands with people, and lo and behold, here comes an anarchist. What are people? Anarchy? Come on. But if you're an anarchist and you don't like government, then who Or what is the biggest symbol of government? The president. So he decides he's going to kill him. So when he comes up, he shakes his hand. Boom. Has a handkerchief over his, the pistol in his hand. Kills when William McKinley. He doesn't die immediately. Dies later. See, this is where that old thing where Abraham Lincoln says, if someone wants to trade their life for mine, because you know what happens when you assassinate the president, you don't, it's a life and a life. So William McKinley, 20 years later, 0 year, Warren G. Harding. Now, everything I read about old Warren, that he was a likable guy, kind of fun to be around, you know, had a big hearty laugh, kind of gregarious. He died kind of doing an apology tour, if I must be upfront with you. You know, it is cocktail hour, so he was not having the best year. I don't know if he was going to be reelected or not for some things he was doing. This is a family show, so I'm just going to say his wife was not happy with him. Anyway, moving on. My apologies to the Harding family, because I'm just saying this is just conjecture and rumors. Do not want to start anything with the Hardings. But he died supposedly in his hotel room of food poisoning. His food poisoning. I'm not saying that someone poisoned his food. I'm just saying he died of food poisoning. Could it be salmonella? Could it be the trichinosis? Could he have had a bad piece of pork? I don't know. Have you seen about how food was so tainted back then? Oh my goodness. That's a whole nother episode. But Warren G. Harding, 1920. Bring on the next one. FDR, Feder. Okay, are there times of strife? Let's go back and look. William McKinley, 1900, Spanish-American War. Warren G. Harding, 1920. 1900, 1920. World War I or the Great War. Spanish flu. Trying to get back to normal. He ran on a normalcy campaign. Well, look at Roosevelt. Great Depression. World War II. Times of strife. Times of struggle and trouble. But he dies in Warm Springs, Georgia, at the little White House in Warm Springs, Georgia. And if you've never been there, y'all, you need to go. It is so great to go see that. So many neat things. It's a lot of neat things in the South, y'all. I'm just got to tell you. 20 years later, 1960, John F. Kennedy is assassinated in Dallas, Texas by allegedly Lee Harvey Oswald. Now, that's for another conspiracy cocktail hour. Okay. And that one might be an hour. This one's not an hour. Okay. John F. Kennedy, Lee Harvey Oswald, 0 year. Now let's look at the next one, because this is where my conspiracy theorist purists will say, but, Finna, Ronald Reagan, 1980, had just been elected, walking out, and this guy named John Hinckley Jr., who had a crush and this obsession with an actress, had been writing her letters, whatever. I'm going to be famous. You're going to know my name. And he chooses to try to assassinate the president of the United States to get her attention. Now, boys, men, there are better ways. There's better ways. So don't, like I said, history's life lessons. Don't do what John Hinckley Jr. did. But anyway, he shot at Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan got shot, and he got sent to the hospital. He had emergency surgery. But see, remember the curse that I just did? Nutshell, time in office will be shortened. So if you want to look as the conspiracy theorist purist, I think for about 11 days, George Bush, his vice president, was the president when he was getting his surgeries done and all that kind of stuff. So, hey, if I'm a purist, okay, maybe the curse came true too. So let's look at the last one, 2000, George W. Bush. Now, people believe that he broke the curse because he had a lot of assassination attempts, y'all, and assassination threats and everything else. Some people believe that the plane that was heading down and that got downed in the Pennsylvania field was heading for the White House or heading to the Capitol. Well, George Bush was in Florida, but it doesn't matter. He survived being elected in 2000 and broke the curse. Now, what do they say about curses? Well, now I'm making this up, but I'm telling you what I think. And I'm going to preface, anytime I give you my opinion, I'm going to say this is an opinion because I don't ever want to give you facts as an opinion. I mean, like, I think you need to know this is I believe if I believed in curses, I would say that the evilness of the curse of the terrorist got whammied with the evil of the curse of the 0 year and Tecumseh, and it canceled each other out. If I was a conspiracy theorist and if I believed in curses. So this is my conspiracy theory cocktail hour. It's kind of interesting coming up on an election in a 0 year. Okay. Thank goodness for whoever is elected president in 4 days, 5 days? I don't know. I'm just ready for it to be done. Thank goodness the curse was broken. Don't you? You agree, don't you? I hope you've enjoyed our conspiracy cocktail hour, and we'll do that some more, maybe once a week. I mean, my husband's like, the conspiracy cocktail hour can't be every day. It shouldn't be every day, but it might be. All right, guys, y'all have a good night, and I will see you soon.